thank you for joining all these good people today and listening and joining the Savage Nation broadcast. You know, I'll tell you what I've been thinking about the COVID thing and its origins. Now, you know, if you've been listening to the show, I did not, past tense, did not even dare think the Chinese did this on purpose. I wouldn't even let it enter my consciousness. I'm too much of a rationalist to believe that a nation would be that devious. But then I thought, wait a minute now, what do you mean? It's been done before. After all, this country put smallpox in the blankets of the Cherokees. I mean, you want to be real about things. War is fought on many different fronts in many different ways. War is total. War is horrible. War is absolutely horrible. The only people who want war are those who don't know what war does to people. Okay, so, yeah, U.S. military gave blankets to the Cherokees before they put them on the death march from their ancestral homeland. And they said, you need warm blankets for the march. And they put smallpox germs in the blankets to kill off the Cherokee. Horrible, horrible story, horrible. It does not define America at all, by the way, as the left would have you believe. It's one of the blemishes of America's history. But the point of that horrible story is that nations have always used disease, if they could. Do you know the story of the catapults that threw victims of the Black Plague over the walls into castles to defeat the men defending the castles? They took people dying of the plague, put them in a catapult, and flung them over the walls to spread the Black Plague on the other side. So why is it not plausible, I thought in the last few days, that China created this monstrosity of a virus? I said, wait a minute, I denied it. I said it can't be true. It's not possible. But now I'm starting to see new iterations, new mutations of COVID-19. And we don't even know if this vaccine would have worked to begin with to the extent they said it would. But let's say it would have worked. You're telling me it's going to work against the new strains? Why? Because Dr. Faustus told you? Because Dr. Faustus, the phony actor, told you that with his little smirk? The pharmacist assistant gave you the smirk that it's good against everything that mutates. How does he know, that jerk? How does that jackoff know that? He's not a scientist. He's a performer. He's a marionette of the pharmaceutical industry. So I'm thinking now, this morning now, for the last show, let's take the most dire view of this epidemic, the plandemic. Let's take the most horrible view of it and say Chinese scientists created this virus. Say, well, wait a minute. Well, they too got affected by it. So I said, well, what are the relative rates of this disease in China and the rest of the world? Why would they decimate the whole world? Well, how are they doing? Are they doing better than the rest of the world? See, we don't really know. Have they beaten the epidemic back? What did they do? Create a virus that we in America and in the West were particularly susceptible to? Did they actually get the genomes, which are readily available, of Western nations, and then reverse engineer a virus that would be unstoppable, I was thinking? Again, this is just thinking out loud. So I said, well, the only way to answer that question would be to get answers to certain questions, such as, how are they doing in China? Are they dying at the same rates? Is the infection rate the same? And if they aren't, you have to say, well, why? Are they not as susceptible to this virus? And why are they not as susceptible to this virus? So I started to look into the ethnicities that were dying at a higher rate in America, for example. And I got the answers. And I told you earlier in the show, I'm going to go into this tomorrow or Monday on my first two podcasts. Because the ethnic differentials in how this disease is progressing is very different. The vermin on the left would have you believe that minorities are getting more of it and dying faster because of an evil racist society. That's total bullcrap. Everything they say is about racism. That's how sick and stupid they are. Whenever you hear people saying systemic racism, you know you're listening to an idiot. You're listening to a systemic racist who has an IQ of about 90. That's all I know. It's all I learned in school, systemic racism. They can hardly say the word systemic. It's too many vowels. When I see that, I write back to them and say, you seem to be the systemic racist that you're writing about. And they never answer me. All these organizations churning out the big lie. The big systemic racism in this society is against heterosexual Christian white males. And you might add straight. I'll be right back. My community is the Savage Nation, and it's time we got